skills that you build and the way that you look at the world through a STEM background can be applied and used in any business function. Marketing, sales, operations, finance, right? Like all those principles can be used. Some things that I learned were how to challenge previously held assumptions in a methodical way. That's how I basically reinvented a new way of doing B2B marketing, of just basically going through and systematically challenging the things that people do right now that just didn't seem to make sense to me and didn't seem to make sense to the people that they were selling to. And so that's a really interesting one.
What is your degree in?
My degree is a dual major in biomedical engineering and electrical computer engineering. I went into WPI, an engineering school in Massachusetts, declared as a pre-pharmacy actually. And then when I got there, I realized that in order to do that, how many organic chemistry classes you need to take in order to do that. And I was like, I'm out. So and then I moved to biomedical engineering. As I started to get into the details of biomedical engineering, you can specialize into biomechanics or bioelectrical or tissue engineering or things like that. And I was really interested at that point of creating medical devices, imaging, reading brain signals and making prosthetic limbs move based on the signals in the brain. So those are things that I was interested in doing research on and building. And then I moved into medical device companies after that. And so that's how the career progression moved, that companies that made electronic medical devices. And then from there, the product management move made a lot of sense because I really understood the technology and how it worked. So I was able to use that skill to start to move into a more commercial role.
I think a lot of people might think, how did you waste all your time getting those degrees? And I always try to share with people that it's never a waste because you're
It's
building
not
that
a
and applying
waste.
to what you're doing. How did you transition into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so it's an interesting journey. So I got out of college and I joined a company called Halma, which is a large British holdings company that owned about 60 technology and engineering companies, and did a rotational development program with them, which is similar to like GE has one, and a lot of the big manufacturing companies have things like that, where you did things like process and operations, product management, or product marketing, potentially some other form of product and engineering. So I went around those companies and started to do those types of projects. And what I found was that I was really passionate, not about how to build the technology, but what it meant for customers. And so I quickly moved into a product management role, which is an interesting interface for people that have a technical background, where you need to understand the technical and how it's developed to interface with engineering, but you also need to be able to interface with the customer to figure out what does the customer want, to relay that back to the engineering team. And so product management kind of sits in the middle of that. And then over time had continued to move further and further into the commercial side of marketing, which I do now. But it's a really interesting thing as a business owner, especially an owner that's working on technology companies with technology products and we're also building our own products, is that having the breadth of skills across all those different functions is hugely valuable.
Numbers allow you to prove things, and you can do an analysis and look at things, and you can find out where certain failures are or where successes are. And I sort of wonder if that is also something that drives you, is that having that background with being able to understand how something functions, find out where the problem is, and then how do you fix that?
Yeah, but now we're looking at it in like human psychology and macro behavioral trends, right? Where are people discovering things? How are buying patterns happening from where they discover something to where do they go? And I find that because of the systems engineering type of look, that I'm very good at understanding how that system works that most other people can't explain or understand. My success is driven through the understanding the underlying details about why things happen and why things work. It's like understanding how the engine, all the parts of the engine make the car go. You know what I mean? Some people just want the car to move. Other people want to really know each individual part and how it contributes to the whole thing moving. And so that's one kind of driver for me, is understanding all of the underlying details. The other one is just purely innovation, understanding what customers want, where their gaps are in the market, and then using my brain to understand that and connect that to whether that's either technology, some type of tech-enabled service, or otherwise that can address and solve those problems.
That is the epitome of not climbing a career ladder. It's the lattice that when I look at you, you vertically ascend and then suddenly it's like here and then here. And so you have
Mm-hmm.
been really all over the map. And now you're taking on a role that, again, I think for so many people involves uh, such a breadth of skills, the soft skills, being able to speak to people, being able to listen, all of these things that people really need to do. And um, you're sort of using it almost as a laboratory experiment. It seems that you look at it, you try something, you measure it, you see where it's effective, where it's not. And I think so many young people and people who are seeking career changes can, hopefully get an appreciation for where the science comes in, why having that science background is so helpful in no matter what aspect of science it is that these um, all of these things you come away with, you can apply it to just about everything.
100%. It can all, the way that I apply the principles in my everyday is wild. And so now, as a, growing from an engineering background into a product manager or marketer for an extended period of time inside of companies, to then building my own company, where at the moment we have about 80 employees and are planning to be at more than 200 at the end of this year. So significant
Wow.
growth and scale. And the things that I do on a day-to-day basis are changing, right? Like your role evolves and changes for how it all works. But the point that I wanted to get in here is that, like, when I was 18, I didn't know that any of this stuff was possible.
Mm.
And so, but I'm super grateful and glad that I went there and I got this type of degree, because I believe that it's the most valuable skills that you can have today. It's not the knowing how to do the calculus or knowing how to do the calculation to make sure the circuit works the right way. It's about the methodical understanding about how things work. And so I just think that the science and engineering backgrounds, especially when paired with understanding people, can be a highly powerful kind of like combination.